Ugh. Okay, let's get into this. 5 kits Games Workshop needs to make. I'm not asking, I'm telling. We as a community need these miniatures made. Or at least I feel like we need them made. Everybody's list is going to be different. So I have taken some notes and I want to talk through some of the bits and pieces that I think would be fantastic to see either return to the table or be created for the tabletop in the near future. I think will be fantastic. I will be looking down at my notes a little bit, so please do bear with me while I do that, because I do want to get this all kind of straight and organized in my head. So 5 things. The first thing that I'm going to say is not just a single thing, but a small collection, and that is the Gaunt's Ghosts. I thoroughly believe we as a community deserve more Gaunt's Ghosts miniatures. Edit that burp out. What I would do for the Gaunt's Ghosts is very simple. You could do it with 2, but preferably 3 kits. 3 kits. I don't think that's a big ask to add an entire extra kind of platoon or range of miniatures to the Astromil term. And the kits that I would suggest adding in for the Gaunt's Ghosts are a second character series, because there's so many interesting characters in the Gaunt's Ghost series that people want to play with on the tabletop. I've written a quick list of my 6, there were 6 in the first one, so I'm going to go for 6 in the second one again, characters I would personally choose. So the first one I put down was Milo, but Milo leaves quite early on, so Milo or Banda the sniper. She's such an awesome character, you know, first non-Tanith to become part of that recon platoon. She's a very cool character, I would very much like her. Victor Hark for another Commissar, a completely different personality to Gaunt's Ghost. He balances Gaunt quite well in the stories, and I just think it would be really cool. Commissars being one of my favorite things in 40k. I think having an extra Commissar in the box can't hurt. There's like 5 Commissars in the Gaunt's Ghost regiment, so you can pick loads of different ones. Dorden, I think Dorden's important. He's like the heart and soul of the regiment, being the medic. He's the oldest Gaunt's Ghost left alive. He should have retired years ago. He's aging, but he's kept so many of those soldiers alive, and everybody kind of looks up to him as like the father figure of the regiment. So I think it'd be really cool to have access to him on the tabletop. Broston, that's very much a personal choice. Broston, he's a big flame trooper. He's not even a flame sergeant at that point. I just think he's incredible, and I think the model would be something like Bragg in the first one. He'd just be this big muscly dude with a huge big flamer. He's a pyromaniac, and he's just very interesting, and I think he'd be cool to have in the squad. And then Ezra Apnit, which I thought should have been in the first one. Ezra is such a pinnacle character in the Gaunt's Ghost series. I definitely think we deserve a model of him. If you don't know who he is, I'm not going to spoil anything. Read through the Gaunt's Ghost series. You will get to a character called Ezra Apnit, and he will follow through the next like 20 books or whatever, and he is incredible. I love him. Tona Creed would be the last one I would choose. She's another female character, and she's obviously she's just awesome. If you've read the books, you know who it is. Those would be my personal 6 characters I would like added into it. For the other 2 things, I think a standard 10-man squad for Gaunt's Ghost is required. It's a very simple thing. I definitely think it would sell a bajillion copies of it. And originally I was like, all we need is a character series and a 10-man squad, and we would be okay to do an entire Gaunt's Ghost army. And like I said, you could get away with it. But I do think if you added in a special weapon team as well, a heavy weapon team as well, which gives access to their tube charges and their rockets and their flamer section, which is kind of the only special or heavy weapons that the army gets access to, then that's it. That's all we need to do an entire Ghost army, and I know I would buy a lot of them, and I think they would fly off the shelves. So, okay, I know there's 5 things. That was the longest one. I'm very passionate about Gaunt's Ghost, so the rest of them will be a lot quicker than that to do. Bear with me. Okay, model 2 that I think Games Workshop definitely need to give us is Azrael Vect. Where is Vect? Where is he? He's the most important character for the Dark Eldar range. He is the boss of all Dark Eldar, leading comrade. He's a fierce character on the tabletop, or at least he was back in the day, and I don't know what the story was. He was first released on his old model in 2000, so 25 years ago, we got the launch of Azrael Vect on his personal raider, flying around, slaves attached to the side and all that. So, where is he? Why haven't we gotten one? So what would a new one look like? Obviously, in the lore these days, he does fly around on top of a giant floating pyramid, but that thing's like almost city-sized. It's how he keeps himself safe with hundreds of guards and stuff like that. I don't think anything like that will come about, but I do think personally, if I was to bring him back into the lore, what I would do is have him mounted on a plastic Tantalus. I think that is the correct way to do it. If any of you don't know, the original Azrael Vect model sat in a throne on the back of a raider. It's like he wouldn't walk into battle. And he leads his troops and does all sorts of things from the back of his personal transport. The Tantalus being a beautiful forge roll kit, giving access to a plastic version of that, having him sit on the back of that, loads of guys swinging off the sides and fighting and doing all sorts of cool things. I think it's a no-brainer. Obviously, we're getting lots of new kits as it is. There's about as much plastic in a Tantalus as there would be in like a Rogel Dorn, so from a Lehman Russo Rogel Dorn. So I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility to be given to us for Dark Eldar. You can also make it a multiple kind of kit, and you can have Vect not on it, so you can just have access to a normal plastic Tantalus, and I think you would sell about 9 million of them. So that's rough estimates, did some calculation. About 9 million on day one is what I roughly came to, so I think we should have that. Okay, Model 3, I think Games Workshop should bring back. And we're going back to Guard again. Guard are my favourite army, and anything that's to do with any of that, they're my favourite. So allow me to have two things in the Guard range. And that second one is Cyphus Cain. And why is Cyphus Cain one that's my choice? And why does Cyphus Cain bug me a little bit as to why we don't have him? First of all, I don't even know how many Cyphus Cain novels there are now, like 12, 13, 14 full-sized novels. He is a fan favourite like character. There wouldn't be 14 books if people weren't buying the original 13 books. You know what I mean? He keeps selling. He's so funny, so charismatic. He comes with his attendant, Jurgen. And obviously you couldn't do one without the other. So the character series set that I would want is obviously Cyphus Cain and Jurgen together. Whether that be a normal pose model or whether it was like a big propaganda post where he's got like ripped arms and he's holding a big banner and all that kind of stuff like the covers of the books. I don't mind either way. Whichever one you want to give me, that's fine. I just want to have access to him. And the thing that I find kind of confusing is, once again, it comes down to sales. I know 100% that if you released a Cyphus Cain miniature, it will sell a lot of models, right? Simple as. I get confused when other characters have gotten 2 releases and they're much newer characters. For instance, Kato, the vampire character that came out, he has 2 different miniatures now. One stunned by himself and one he's with a little trio. They're all cool models, but 2? I don't know. You got Minkalesk. She got 2. She got one where she was basically just the white shield risen up, and now you have one as a kind of Colonel Minkalesk. I haven't got to the point in the books there she's a Colonel yet, but 2 Minkalesks. Kind of crazy. We have 2 Neve Black Talon miniatures for Age of Sigmar Stormcast model. And we have 2 Galen and Dorilla models, the vampire hunters, the witch hunters from the Cities of Sigmar range. The second set of them, it's the same models, they just don't have their coats on. So I thought that was a bizarre choice to do 2 of each of those sets of miniatures when we have models like Cyphus Cain available and not being done. There was actually originally a Cyphus Cain miniature done. It was done in 2005. It was a Black Library exclusive miniature and it was released as only 500 copies of it were ever made. It goes for extortionate money on eBay and it is hideous. It's horrible. Even if someone offered me one, I'd still take it. Who am I kidding? But I don't want it. I need a new model of Cyphus Cain, so please do make that. I think that'd be awesome. Okay, Model 4 that I think Games Workshop should bring into the game or bring back. And this is, once again, close to my heart, Yaric. Where is Yaric? We are coming up to the 4th War for Armageddon. Angron has descended on Armageddon with all of his demons. It is a huge invasion, and Grey Knights and Space Wolves and all sorts of things have come together to try and repel the borders. But honestly, in order to repel that force, you're gonna need the true hero of Armageddon, and that is Yaric. Where is he? He has been missing since the Cicatrix Maledictum happened and the galaxy split in half. When the lore made that jump forward originally, the Games Workshop wrote it so it was a 100-year time jump, and it was going to be the end of the Indominus Crusade. That's what they talked about at the beginning of the new 10th edition. They retconned that pretty quickly and said, you know what, that was dumb. So they went back to the beginning of the Indominus Crusade, which was only like 20 years after the Cicatrix Maledictum, and they're kind of taking the story from there. Yaric was 200 years old for the 3rd War for Armageddon, and we have now seen characters appear in the lore much, much older than that. So, for instance, in the Minkalesk series books, we have one of the Black Star characters. She's just like an imperial dignitary. I think they said she was like 600-700 years old. Also, the Rogue Trader character from that Rogue Trader kill team, her story, she's 600 years old as well. So they've definitely pushed the boat out a little bit further with what rejuvenate treatment is capable of doing. Obviously, these are very wealthy people, so they can pay for the best. But the Imperium, him being a symbol of kind of imperial hope and defiance, I think they would spare no expense. They would get him off to the best plastic surgeons, and we would have a fairly slick looking Yaric in no time. I definitely think he should return. I love him to bits, and I need him back in my life. I don't want him to be the decapitated skull that has been seen hanging from Angron's neck with a bionic eye. Has Angron killed Yaric? I don't know. Is that what's going to happen in the 4th War for Armageddon? I don't know. I'm nervous. Okay, Model 5, the final one in this video that I think should be made into a character. And this one's going to be a little bit, probably controversial, because some people seem to have a problem with the whole new lore with Belisarius Cawl and Primaris Marines and all that jazz. And I just don't care, because I love them. I think the models are 10 out of 10 amazing. It's giving us access to so many extra cool Space Marines to build and paint, so many different types of armies to be constructed and used. So I'm here for it. The model that I want to see from them done is Alpha Primus. So Alpha Primus is basically kind of like the pseudo Primarch of the Primaris Marines. He was the first attempt at making a new Marine that Belisarius Cawl did. He used all of the like text and information and all the notebooks that the Emperor had when he was creating the Primarchs, and he did his best to try and create something along those lines. In his head, he did fail. He didn't get anywhere close to a Primarch, but he did create a superior being. Since then, he has lost the information, the knowledge, or the technology that allowed him to create Alpha Primus. I don't know why or how that happened, but that's in the story. Alpha Primus as a whole is much more powerful than a standard Primaris Marine. He's faster and stronger and tougher and all those things. He's also a very, very potent psyker. So he is much more powerful than any single librarian that exists in any Space Marine cadre. So I don't know. I do remember half reading somewhere that Belisarius Cawl tried to, instead of having 19 legions and each one proficient at a specific thing, and then obviously you have to mix them in to make like a campaign work, he wanted to make a Primaris Marine be a mix of all of them. So the rumor is that Alpha Primus is in fact all the gene seed. All 20 gene seed is inside Alpha Primus, which is why he's a master tactician and why he's a powerful psyker and why he's good at stealth and why he's just got it all inside of him. He is racked by eternal pain constantly. From head to toe, he is in pain all the time, so he's a bit of a fail then. You do learn in another book that there's actually a small amount of Belisarius Cawl's actual DNA inside of him, so he's kind of Belisarius' son. It's a whole big weird thing, but give me a Primarch. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the lore being added to and expanded, and I think it'd be a really cool model, and I would want to build and paint one and play with them on a tabletop, so that's just my thing. That's about it for me. I will give you one tiny extra bonus one, which is just a really greedy one, which is with the Horus Heresy coming into kind of providence again. Everyone is talking about it and new editions and all that kind of things. I would like a nicer version of Sigismund. I don't think the model they did gives justice to my favorite character of all time, which is Sigismund. That's just me, a personal, selfish thing. I want a new, beautiful version of Sigismund. A little bit more time put into him, just a little bit better pose, nicer sword, all that kind of jazz. If you were to either bring one model into the lore or have one model be redone, what would that be? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you do give the video a like. Make sure you're subscribed. And then if you want to support the channel further, check out things like becoming a channel membership and my Patreon, all linked down below. Hopefully you guys found this video interesting, and you're looking forward to more stuff like this in the future. Thank you guys so much for sticking around at the end of this video. I'll see you in the next one. Please do edit out that burp. Don't just put a funny quote in underneath it saying, he asked me to edit it. Like, you're going to do that, aren't you?